I set it up. There was a little delay because I had to get the cable. I did not have an open HDMI port on my computer. I had an open display port, so I had to get a converter, but it worked fine. And then I am now able to, I was able to set it up. And as you can see, I have the open screen, and that's my little dog. He has a very interesting history. He was abused, and so when I got him, he had a lot of fear aggression. And I eventually actually had to take him to a veterinary behaviorist. So he's been on medication ever since ever since that day. It's been probably 4 or 5 years. But he's doing okay. He's his own dog, and he's always going to be that way. But anyway, that's not what we're here for. So we have the tablet installed, and what you can see now on the screen is and I don't know why I'm not seeing input here. Let's see. I gotta double check this. It is. Let me make sure my sound is here, because if not, it is going to cause a problem. Okay, make sure this should be plugged in. That's there. Now it should be recognized. There we go. Test input capture, blue snowball. Okay, hopefully that's working. At any rate, why is this not? Encoding? Okay, I'm gonna and make sure that sound. Testing. Why is blue snowball not? Testing. Control. It's not. It is picking up the blue snow. Testing. There we go. Okay. Okay. So we have the XP pen unboxed, and I installed it. I set it up. It took a little bit because I had to get a special adapter because I didn't have an open HDMI port on my computer. And so I had to take care of that. But it set up, it was not much of an issue. A couple of my impressions. First of all, I had no problem. I think the cable, some people said the cable was not going in time. I think it's fine. The positive is it has all the mess at the other end by your computer, so you don't have these three long wires. You have one long wire and a bunch of short wires. And that's good. It's not quite as elegant as the Wacom solution, where they have a port, so you can use your own HDMI and USB cables, but you pay a lot more for that. So, some compromises there. The other thing I discovered in setting this up is you have to have an exact, if you're going to mirror a monitor, you have to have an exact match. What that means is not just the DPI, which is why I could not mirror it to my 27-inch 4K monitor. I had to mirror it to my 24-inch 2K because there's only 2K display. But also, when you configure a screen in Windows, there's a percentage. Let me see if I can bring that up. I can bring it up even here. Display settings. Let's see if I can move them over here and show you. So, if you look at the display settings, you have your monitors. So this is the Wacom. And if I can scroll down, let me use the pen since that's going to be easier. The scale is set to 150. So the scale and the DPI. Now I wanted to mirror 3, which is a monitor when I'm sitting at this angle right in front of me. It's actually to the left, but the way my setup is, I'm pointed to the left if I am using the tablet. So the DPIs match, but when I scaled it, when I wanted to scale it to 150, it did not look right. So I went back to just extend the display and make this a separate display. Now what you see up now is the configuration. I haven't gotten the pen pressure test to work. I'm not sure why that's the case. Pen pressure in the apps though seems to work fine, and we'll take a look at that. As you can see, this is the screen, and yeah, it's my little dog. He is quite the character because he had a lot of fear aggression when I got him, and he's been on medication for that for some time. I had to take him to essentially a veterinary psychiatrist, if you will, to get him to stop trying to go crazy and try to bite everything when you just start to put a leash on him. But now, most of the time he lets me put his leash on, and he lets his walker put a leash on. But he's never been a big fan of walking. Anyway, back to this. So you can see here, you can configure the pen. I've noticed the pen eraser does not necessarily work very well with certain programs. In particular, it did not work in ArtRage, and it did not work in Krita. This is the right click. And then you can get into the express keys. And I configure, you can do it individually for an app. So you have, I configured it for Krita and ArtRage. And you can see different commands here, like when I go to, this is the default. So this would make your brush bigger or smaller. You can do other things that I have not done that much yet. But the other thing is you can configure the dial. And for Critter and ArtRage, I configured it to make the your page bigger or smaller, or to zoom or not, to zoom in or zoom out. So this is the next thing you're going to do once you bring, and I suggest you install the latest drivers from XP Pen before you hook everything up. And I did not have really any problems. Again, my one concern is why the pen pressure test, no matter what I do, it does not, I don't see anything here. I'm not sure why that is the case. That's not the case in the apps. But we're going to take a look at some apps now. And let's start. I just purchased where is it? And the app is called Pen Tablet, by the way. Let me bring up, let me try to bring up Affinity Designer here. I mean, it's, sorry, Affinity Photo, and yeah, here it is. So we got Affinity Photo up. I'm going to bring it into here. Now, I have not done any configuration on here yet. Let me try to make this a little smaller. Actually, right now I'm using the mouse. I was using the mouse on the other screen. And let's shrink this up a little bit. So, as you can see, I can draw, and you can see it gets, I don't know if I'm getting much pen pressure here on this brush and in this app. And it does not, I don't know if that click to erase is going to work, but we can give it a shot. No. Yeah, it doesn't. So this is they actually have it on sale, but this is more of a drawing app, sorry, a photo editing app, but people do paint in it. Let me get out of here and bring up ArtRage, and hopefully that will give us, we'll see, ArtRage is another app that I have actually, let's go with, you can see, let's see something. I don't think pen pressure is working here. You can see a little. I'm going to have to look at that some more, but what should happen is, yeah, you can see it a little. Let's go with a pencil. It doesn't look like it's working. It's catching pen pressure. I am not sure why that's the case, but I'll have to take a look at it. It should capture pen pressure. Let's see. And this is had the, to me, let's add another layer here. And this to me had the nicest drawing interface on this tablet. Another app, and I'm going to get out of here, is Krita, which is open source. This is about $80, $40 on sale right now for Black Friday. Let's bring up Krita and see what that does. Hello, is it coming up? Once again. Now that's one thing. I have found that you're going to have to move your, I don't know why this is not, what's it looking for? For some reason, it's something that's up somewhere that it doesn't, that's trying to, here we go, that's why. There. Now I should be able to move it in place. Let me make it smaller first. And that's one thing when you're moving between different sizes. Alright. So, what I'm going to do is create a new file here. And I am going to add, okay, it's already got layer 1 and a brush. Yeah, pen pressure for some reason is not working on this thing. I may have to reinstall the driver, try to figure out what's going on here. But anyway, this kind of has a lot of space being taken up by your your tools, and you can see I have that. I have one of the buttons here. Second button is making it smaller, the cursor, the brush, and another making it bigger. You have a hand tool here that lets you move your, let's make this smaller, move your paper around, and different things. And this is free, although they recommend a donation. They have a bunch of brushes. The one thing I found here is that, so, look, I'm not on a brush. I'm wondering why this pen pressure is not working, but my guess is there's something not installed correctly in the drivers, so I'm gonna have to reinstall the drivers. But you can see this works. There are a number of things. There is a way in View, I believe. Show assistant. Oh, that's one other thing that's kind of cool about this. I will talk about that in a second. So, you got rotate canvas right and left, which is something else you can do. You can set up there is a way to turn off these bars, and right now I forget what that is. But what's kind of cool, let's go back here, is this. And someone did a whole video, I should probably link to it, on these assistants. I think it's, you go to Tools and Scripts. Document Tools. There is a way to, you can see tool options here, and you have different different choices here. You have fisheye, you have perspective. So perspective would give you your perspective lines. And various things like that. So, this works with many different types of software. And the pen feels very comfortable right now. I have, let's go back to a brush of some sort. Let's see if that'll, the pen feels pretty good to write with on the surface. Which is very nice. So the key is, what I'd say is zero down on the application you're going to use with this. Go into the configuration and configure it. And then it should be very nice to use. Now, if you do have, you can get a good match with your monitor and the tablet, that can make it nice for you, because you will be able to see what you're doing, look up and see the big screen. And can see it works. It works pretty well here. Photoshop. It also works in Photoshop. Let's see if I can bring up Photoshop here. If you're a Photoshop user, which is a very popular for drawing these days. Although I would take a look at Affinity Photo if you don't like the monthly charge, and if you don't like you don't need some of these advanced features. Okay, so we can bring this in here. Let's see, get rid of that. And create new. Oh, put it on a different screen. That's one thing. Sometimes when you do stuff, it's going to put things on a different screen. And this does not seem to be responding to brush pressure either. Nor does it seem to be responding to the eraser. It says it's in eraser mode, I can see, but it's not erasing. So I'm going to have to play with this a little bit, figure out why it's doing what it's doing. But you can see, you can take advantage of all the many brushes that you have in Photoshop. You can see all kinds of brushes. Let's see. Oh, this is a brush setting. So just for that brush. So here's brushes, and you do have many brushes in, let's see if we can bring those up. General brushes, you've got dry media. See, this is gonna scroll here. Cezanne. And you can do different. So it's very versatile in terms of the application you can do. Now, what I haven't tried is doing things like Fusion 360 or, you know, some kind of non-artistic, non-design type app that does use a lot of moving things around. But like I said, now this is a good value for the money at $175 on sale, typically $250. If you are using this, I mean, this is a good size if you're getting if you're getting started. If you're using this professionally, you'll probably want something bigger. If your income depends on it, you're gonna have to look and see. You may be a better candidate for a more expensive tablet like the Wacom, but the Wacom's going to cost 2 or 3 times the cost of this for something similar. So, at any rate, this is, you know, so far I think it feels decently built. I don't think it feels cheap. I don't think the cable feels cheap or has any problems. The stand is left to be desired because it is one adjustment fit all as opposed to being able to adjust it. But then it came with the box. You didn't have to pay extra money to get it. So there are always trade-offs, pros and cons on anything you're going to do in this regard. But hopefully this has been useful. What I'd say is evaluate what you need in terms of size, in terms of the apps you're using, in terms of what you're using it for. Are you a hobbyist like myself, or are you a professional designer whose livelihood depends on your tablet? Do you mind the small size, or do you need something more canvas size? If you look at you know, the professionals, they're gonna probably want a little bit more room, especially since if you read anything about doing art, they will tell you need to move your hand around. You know, you don't want to draw with your fingers or your wrist. You want to do a lot of stuff with your be able to, you know, use arm motion rather than, you know, paint from your arm rather than from your hand or your fingers or your wrist. Now, sometimes you have to if you're using a small space, but in general, I notice when I go and I use my arm, I can make better circles and things like that. So, anyway, hopefully this has been helpful, and I will speak to you next time.